Okay. Thank you very much, and thank you for your patience. Minister of Public Enterprises, who is online somewhere. Minister of Transport, Minister Fikile Mbalula. The Premier of the Western Cape has had to leave to go to other issues, but we've got the MEC here, Mr. David Menier, who used to be in Parliament, whose debates I used to enjoy most, and he's abandoned Parliament. I wish he could come back. Ms. Portia Debbie, the Group CEO of Transnet, various executives from Transnet, and the officials who run this port of Cape Town, good morning. I'm really delighted to be here in Cape Town at the port. I've had a wonderful tour of the port and looked at how our port here in Cape Town operates. I have in the past weeks spent time in Durban Port as well, just to look at how they operate and the challenges they face and what future they are plotting for themselves going forward. During the past several weeks, our efforts to accelerate the implementation of the structural economic reforms have been gaining momentum, as we said they would. These reforms are crucial, extremely crucial to enabling a strong economic recovery and to placing our economy on a much faster and more sustainable economic trajectory. The reforms that we've spoken about are necessary to modernize as well as to transform our network industries, to increase the efficiencies that we need, to reduce costs, and to make our exports much more competitive. Most importantly, these reforms are necessary to accelerate the creation of jobs. It is for this reason that we are focused on reforms in electricity, in water, in digital communications, and in transport, as well as reforms of our visa regime. Today, we are announcing another major step forward in our reform agenda, which will have a significant impact on our port system. South Africa's ports are vital to the trade of the country with the rest of the world, and they play a crucial role both in our own economy and that of the wider Southern African region, SADC. There are therefore massive benefits to be realized from reliable, efficient, and competitive ports. The Port of Cape Town is strategically located on one of the busiest international shipping routes and is our second largest container port by volume after Durban. It is particularly important for the export of our fresh food as well as wine. If the port functions efficiently, the economy of the Western Cape, and indeed the economy of the entire country, benefits. If port services are inefficient and costly, or if imports and exports are delayed, the economy suffers. In recent years, the performance of our ports has declined, particularly in comparison with other ports on the continent and around the world. This has had a significant impact on our exports, rendering South African products less competitive and increasing the cost of goods for every South African. We have set out to reverse this decline in performance and to position our ports as world-class facilities that can enable our economic growth. And we do have the capacity and the capability to be world-class. The board of Transnet and the new management team have done extremely well to stabilize our state-owned enterprise company, Transnet. They've developed a world-class strategy and undertake actions to promote investment and improve performance at our ports. This is an important part of the economic reconstruction and recovery plan that we developed together with our social partners, they being business, labor, and communities. The weak performance of our ports is the result of structural challenges in our logistics system and operational inefficiencies. It is for this reason that we are today announcing the establishment of the Transnet National Ports Authority as an independent subsidiary of Transnet in line with the National Ports Act of 2005. This will mean the establishment of an independent National Ports Authority, which will be a wholly owned subsidiary of Transnet, with its own board appointed by the minister. An essential part of addressing the challenges in our ports is to create a clear separation between the roles of the infrastructure owner, which is the Transnet National Ports Authority, and the terminal operator, which is the Transnet Port Terminals. These are different roles, and they need to be separated so that we can extract the efficiencies and the greater capability that can ensue from this separation. The functional and legal separation of these roles, which are currently operating divisions of the same company, will enable each to be fulfilled more independently and with greater efficiency and capability. In particular, it will mean that revenues that are generated by the ports can be invested in port infrastructure, both for the replacement of old equipment and for the upgrading and expansion of our ports. The creation of a separate subsidiary will allow the Ports Authority to make its own investment decisions and will ensure that it treats all terminal operators fairly and equally in the interests of all port users. At the same time, Transnet will remain the sole shareholder of the subsidiary to prevent any negative impact on the group's balance sheet and to ensure that the Ports Authority remains an important part of the Transnet Group. This is a really significant development because this reform has been delayed for more than 15 years since the National Ports Act was promulgated. It has taken that long, and today we are reforming this whole process so that we can gain greater efficiencies and greater capabilities. As part of our economic reconstruction and recovery plan, we are making progress in overcoming long-standing obstacles and bringing an end to delays in the implementation of our reforms. Together with the restructuring of Eskom, this is part of our ongoing effort to reposition as well as to transform our state-owned enterprises so that they can be profitable, sustainable, and competitive, and can play a developmental role in our economy, and so that they can also be profitable. This reform will have a direct impact on port users and our export industries. They will benefit from increased efficiency, lower costs, and new investment in port infrastructure. It will also have an impact on the lives of ordinary South Africans who will benefit from the lower prices of goods and more jobs throughout the export value chain. It may not be obvious to us as South Africans, but almost every single product that we purchase is affected in one way or another by our ports. That is why every South African should really be pleased and celebrate the steps that we are now taking to turn our ports around. The changes that we are announcing today cannot be separated from the ongoing work to improve efficiency and also to invest in infrastructure in our ports. The implementation of this measure is a crucial part of Transnet's broader strategy to revitalize our logistics infrastructure, including by developing strategic partnerships with the private sector to attract new investment and to enhance terminal operations. Transnet has put in place an ambitious plan to invest 100 billion rand over the next 5 years. Now, this it will do in upgrading its infrastructure across the port system. We want to do this because we truly want to modernize our port system. Earlier, I was talking about the Premier of the Western Cape, and now we're talking about the marvel that we all had when we visited Singapore port, and we saw how well it operates. Now, Transnet is now following in the steps of ports of real note in the world like Singapore. And I think we have the capability to do it. Because achieving this target of investing 100 billion rand in the next 5 years will rely on leveraging private capital to show up the contributions of the state and establish world-class infrastructure at our ports. Now, I wish to make it clear that state ownership of the ports remain our policy, and we will not compromise on that. All of our ports, as well as our rail infrastructure, are strategic national assets that belong to the people of South Africa. That is why the National Ports Authority and its assets will remain in the ownership of the state. Simply put, they will remain in the ownership of the people of South Africa. Where the private sector can and should play a role is in partnering with the state to improve terminal operations and to invest in new infrastructure, as is already the case in several of our bulk cargo terminals. There will be no job losses as a result of the creation of the new subsidiary. Only greater efficiency and more investment will follow. To implement this reform, Minister of Public Enterprises will appoint an interim board by the 30th of June to oversee the establishment of the new subsidiary, ensuring that this process is concluded as quickly as possible. We will ensure that an inclusive consultative process is undertaken throughout this process so that all key stakeholders are involved. Transnet will continue its work to improve operational performance by introducing new technology, maintaining and replacing old equipment, upskilling its workforce, and ensuring that it has the right expertise in place. And I have been impressed by the dedication and the effectiveness of the new management team that's led by Portia Derby, which has worked tirelessly to reverse the damage done in the past by state capture and to put the company on a new footing. I'm confident that this team, with the support of the Department of Public Enterprises and Transport, has the necessary experience and the skill to accomplish this task. And I'm convinced that the establishment of an independent National Ports Authority will mark the beginning of a new era for South African ports. Like each of the structural reforms that we are implementing, this announcement was preceded by many months of intensive work by the Department of Public Enterprises, the Department of Transport, and Transnet itself, and this has been done most effectively as well. I would like to thank Minister Pravin Gordhan, Minister Fikile Mbalula, the Transnet CEO, and their teams for taking this bold step forward in establishing a world-class, modern, and competitive logistics system. I'd like to believe that we are now on the move. As we announce more and more reforms, we are repositioning our economy. We are moving forward with speed and determination to accelerate structural reforms and achieve a swift and lasting economic recovery. At this point, I'd like to hand over to the Minister of Public Enterprises to elaborate on the steps that we are taking to implement the reforms and other measures to improve the performance of our ports. This is a significant day, and I'm glad that I've been at this port to see how it operates, and it's been a joy to see all the young people, the people who work either as pilots, to shepherd in the ships, the big ships as they come in, all the people who direct the traffic, and all the people who are planning the future of this port. They know their work, and they are highly motivated, and this is the type of management team that we need in all our state-owned enterprises. And today I'm elated, and I leave Cape Town after this announcement knowing that we are on the right path. And thank you, all of you. Thank you.
Mr. President, good morning to you. And I was too scared of the weather in Cape Town to join you, so forgive me for that. My greetings also to my colleague, Mr. Mbalula, and to all the colleagues in Parliament, as you said, the Romania in the Western Cape, and Ms. Darby and her team, and other officials from the Department of Public Enterprises and Transport. If I can just elaborate on a few points that you've made, Mr. President. The first is...
Well, the Minister of Public Enterprises, Pravin Gordhan, no arrangements were made for his online presentation. But as you heard it, world-class, modern and competitive system, the words of President Cyril Ramaphosa, accompanied by cabinet ministers and the CEO of Transnet, Portia Derby, announcing the creation of Transnet National Ports Authority, a wholly owned Transnet subsidiary, which he says will be independent, an independent National Ports Authority. This in an effort to create a clear line in terms of roles. He says together with the restructuring of Eskom, this is part of the state's ongoing efforts to improve efficiencies and improve competitiveness. The president says that jobs will be created in the export value chain. 100 billion rand will be invested in the port's infrastructural system. What are your thoughts? Let us know at the agenda _SABC. Let's take a break.